Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy, head coach Ross of the Attacks Gym, Street Warrior, Njia Uhuru Kipura. As most of you know by now, Njia Uhuru is a Swahili term. It means the way of freedom. Kipura is the reference to the ancient African fighting system from the Empire of Congo, called Kipura, from which you have probably heard the Brazilians and Portuguese mispronounce and misapply and improperly practice the art as capoeira. So my system, family system, is Njia Uhuru Kipura. It is not the same as the ancient Kipura fighting system, but is definitely in the same lineage and is descended straight from it. Therefore, when we talk about the authenticity and techniques of my family system, which it's essentially like compared to cardio capoeira, the non-self-defense, dance and exercise-oriented combination of movements and exercises from Brazil, which is nothing like the original art of Kipura that it claims to be. Well, my system is much older and far more authentic because it continues the legacy of Kipura, whereas the Brazilian version does not. It branches off into cardio capoeira as a result of the politics of the Brazilian government, which were and remain extremely racist and oppressive from the 1930s up until today, most especially insofar as its impact upon cardio capoeira is concerned and its divergence from Kipura. This is why there are no more heroes, no more legends in the practice of the art. But that's for my other video. You know, I'm going to put that video up a little bit later today, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And that video is going to make a lot of people mad, but that's what the truth does. All right. This video is going to make a lot of people mad too. Okay. Let's jump into it. Let's see what this is about. Well, I've been receiving more and more emails from you guys, you know, from yesterday and today. I mean, how are you going to send me these emails on Super Bowl Sunday? But I have had 21 to 22 emails asking what is my opinion about the political arena regarding specifically the struggle that we of African blood have, and where it converges with or differs from that of the quote-unquote gay agenda, the LBGTQ. I'm messing up the letters. All right, the lesbian, gay, queer, trans. So lesbian, gay, queer, LBGQT agenda, right? So let's get into that. Let me tell you this. Before we get into it, there's a whole bunch of things, some basic critical pieces of information that even I got wrong, and I swore I was right about this, that I'm going to educate you about. The difference is, before I open my mouth and make a video, before I write about an issue, I do the relevant research and try to consult the relevant experts who are vastly better informed than I. Which is why almost every single time you see me write something, I cite the reference works, the scholarly works, wherein the proof, the evidence of what I'm saying being correct resides. In this case, I got a double blessing because the science that proves this is the science that was cited by my father, Dr. Harold Fletcher, who's one of the leading psychologists in this country. And it was part of his doctoral dissertation some nearly 20 years ago. Okay, so let me get my disclaimer out of the way. Wheresoever some of the things I say may possibly be scientifically inaccurate is because I misunderstood or incorrectly conveyed what my father told me last night and the night before, where he sat me down and just intellectually slapped me around and educated me as to the areas that I thought I knew what I was talking about in. And that's what I'm going to do to you. Okay? I don't think I'm wrong here, but right after I drop this, I'm going to talk to my dad to make certain I got this right. And if I have to make another video, clarifying some of the things I've said, that's exactly what I'll do, because none of us actually, set out to be wrong about something that we have a passionate belief about. No one just got up this morning and like, you know what, I'm just gonna be just hell of a wrong about stuff I believe in. Nobody did that. Most of us think that our opinions that we hold passionately are also correct. That's why we are so passionate about it. We're trying to do the right thing and we think we are right. Well, take this information with you, because this is the inarguable collation of data and truth and facts as proven by science. All right, ready? Let's go. The question is about nature and nurture and the political agenda and what have you and so on. Are people who are gay born, or do they choose to become gay? And how does this impact us politically, socially, economically, spiritually as well? Okay, I'm going to get into that, but first let's start with a couple of things that I was wrong about, and most of you are too, because as I recall reading many discussions wherein these two words were used interchangeably and they were wrong to do so, including me. All right, let me give you the definition of two terms. Really, there's four major things we need to look at, but I'm going to start off with two right off. And that is this: sex and gender are not scientifically the same. I have made the same mistake of many of you as well, wherein I would use those two terms interchangeably as if they're essentially the same thing, and they are not. They are not the same things. Sex, as far as science is concerned, is specifically related to your genitalia, whether you have a penis, a vagina, or if you're a hermaphrodite, both. This is what determines your sex, period. Your gender comes into play if, and primarily if, your behavior, your social behavior, the way in which you behave is different than, opposite than that of your sex, meaning your genitalia. So if you are a man and you behave in the way in which we and your society attribute to that to be the behavior of women's, then your gender is female, your sex is male. Okay, and the converse is also true. Okay, I also want to issue this other statement that my father said to me, which is that most of the science available has been done upon the brains of deceased men. There has not been enough data at this point in time to reach ironclad conclusions, or and amass significantly similar data regarding the brains of lesbian women. So this is important that you know. This is an important sidebar that you know. Okay? Now back at it. My father's doctoral dissertation dealt with congenital virilizing adrenal hyperplasia. Let me say that again. There's a bunch of big words, right? Congenital virilizing adrenal hyperplasia. Let's say you can't spell that, but you still want to research it, because I want all of you to get your facts straight and actually look it up on Google so that you can follow along with what I'm saying. Click it up, click the microphone on Google, and then you just speak the words to Google. Click the microphone icon on Google in the search bar, in that box right there. It'll be on the right hand side. Click that microphone and say congenital virilizing adrenal hyperplasia. Bang, it'll come up for you. Okay, now here are the standout salient aspects of this particular issue, this particular, sorry about that, I'm checking out all the leaves and stuff and making certain I'm not stepping in anything creative of this particular matter here, congenital virilizing adrenal hyperplasia. The standout issues are this, and this is something I did not know until my father schooled me on this, okay? And you didn't know this either until I'm schooling you on it, okay? From the point of conception to just prior to 6 weeks of the fetus development, the brain type of the fetus is female, but essentially what would be the fetus's body has no specific asexual identity, meaning that it has not developed a penis or a vagina. So it's like a unmolded lump of clay physically. Okay? Even though the brain type is already female. Why is this? Because science has made it very clear that insofar as human fetuses are concerned, nature prefers to create females over males. All right? Keep this in mind. Hello, how are you doing? Hey, what a beautiful smile. You're welcome. Take care now. All right. So keep this in mind. It's of great importance. It's of great importance. Okay. So now we go to the 6-week point. What happens there? If everything is quote unquote normal, the standard, what generally happens here is that the adrenal gland, if we're talking about a conversion into a male, the adrenal gland unleashes these tremendous amounts of androgens, which include testosterone, and this hormonal release changes the unformed physical type to that of a male, as well as changes the brain type to that of a male. So what you wind up getting here is a fetus which now develops as a boy, and his behavior is that of a male. Okay, so that's cool, that's normal. However, if there is a release of hormones that is different than or lesser than that which we just stated, that's where some complications arise. Okay, so what if there's a release of hormones that's sufficient enough to transform the physical structure, what would essentially become the body of the fetus? And I'm saying this with as many lay terms as possible. Okay, I'm deliberately skipping some of the more scientific terminology in order to try to reach as many people who are watching this video as possible. Okay, for those of you who are scientists and are going like, hey, Ross, you didn't use the exact precise terminology, that's purposeful. Okay, I know what the terminology is, my father told me. All right, but again, I'm trying to reach as many lay persons as possible because I too was making this exact same mistake and I realize the type of language that is generally used in these discussions. So with that out of the way, okay, what if you have a release of androgens and testosterone that is sufficient to change the physical type, the unformed body, into developing a penis, but is not sufficient enough to impact the brain type? What you'll wind up having here is the default brain type of the human, which is female, housed within the sex of a male. The physical body of a male, which is the sex of a male, the genitalia of the male. This person would then grow outwardly as a male, but their brain would be that of a female, and they would be naturally attracted to men. Now, this is without question or doubt, it is impossible to refute. This is the nature fact that there are any number of gay and lesbians who are born the way they are, because the converse is also true. Okay, meaning that there could be sufficient enough androgen release to change the brain type, the default fetus brain type to female, but insufficient enough to change the fetus's physical expression, their body, from being a female. That's when you start getting into the various ducts and stuff like that. And again, we don't have time for that. I just want to focus on this particular issue so you can grasp where we're going here, all right? And if you want to get into more in-depth and in-detailed scientific discussions wherein the terminology and the jargon we will use will wind up losing the majority of the people who I'm reaching out for, we can do this in the comment section, all right? But what I'm trying to do now is trying to reach as many people as possible, so as many people as possible can understand what we're talking about here and follow along and be able to follow the research and be able to educate themselves and correct themselves in the same way that my father educated and corrected me. All right? Okay. So, yeah, there is overwhelming, indisputable, invincible scientific proof that there are people of what we call the lesbian and gay persuasion who are born the way they are. Okay? Furthermore, there is evidence and proof, unassailable, that there are individuals of this particular group and others who choose the lifestyle that they have chosen. Okay? So how can you tell the difference between those who chose such a bit, chose that lifestyle, and those who were born that way? You have to ask them. Unless, of course, you happen to have access to a post-mortem cerebral analysis, which determines the female type brain and the masculine body, the male's body, and vice versa, meaning the male genitalia and vice versa, the female genitalia with the male mind. Now, one of the significant differences that science has uncovered that shows a difference between the literal brain structure of the gay man as opposed to the heterosexual man is that the gay man's hypothalamus is more developed. Okay? This doesn't make them greater or less than or anything else like that. It just means that that's just one of the structures that science thus far has determined, is a difference. It's not anybody being blighted with any kind of wrath of God or anything else like that. It's just a difference. Just like there are literal structural differences between the female brain and the male brain. It doesn't mean that the females are any greater or lesser in intellect or ability than we are as males, and vice versa. It just means there are structural differences, which we should be not entirely taken aback by, because we have gender differences as well. So, and physiological differences as well. Okay? So, keep all of this stuff in mind as we continue this discussion. So, how does that impact the issue and the discussion, the whole hot button issue of, well, you know what? The gay agenda is being used to supplant the African agenda, or vice versa, and the hostilities brought up behind that. Okay, let's take a look-see at that. All right? Now with this data in mind, these facts, these scientific facts in hand, we can now very easily resolve this entire issue, okay? We're looking at here, hands down, is this basic reality. Something that I as a layperson figured this out, but now it's good to know that science backs me up in this area, where it smacked me around a couple other areas like sex and gender, where I was wrong at, okay? Let's keep this 100, all right? Now I'm going to talk specifically to my black people. Everybody you can listen to, but I'm talking specifically to we of African blood, especially who promote the notion that there's some kind of difference between the African agenda, the black agenda, and the gay agenda, etc., so on and so forth. Okay, well, if you are somehow able to separate one's sexual preference from one's racial identity, you'd have an argument. More accurately, if one's racial identity is the identity of this political majority of wheresoever one happens to live, then you will be able to escape the racial racism, the racist component that dogs specifically and only we of African blood the world over. All right? But when you're talking about a lesbian or gay person, etc., so on and so forth, anybody of that entire community, queer, trans, bi, who is a person of color, that person of color faces racial prejudice on top of sexual preference bigotries. Is that as severe as what a black person faces? No. Because racial prejudice is not as bad as racism. Racism is civilization-wide. Racial prejudice is specific to small groups. All right? So wheresoever a racist civilization operates in anything, we, being the butt and bearing the brunt of such racism, will catch it worse than anybody else, because we catch racist feudalism, which you need to check in my next video. I'll give you that explanation there. whereas nobody else experiences that, period. How does that operate insofar as the assaults that persons of differing sexual preferences experience? There is a difference. The difference are shades of differences, but they are differences, and that is this. Okay, people who are gay or members of that entire community, lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer. I always switch up the letters. I don't really have it memorized, but you know what I'm talking about, right? They are subjected to horrendous assaults purely because of their sexual preference. Okay? This is sexual preference, bigotry, hatred, etc., so on and so forth. It is a hate crime, period. But what happens is racism compounded with sexual preference bigotry tends to lead to more consistent and more severe assaults of people in that community than sexual bigotry, sexual preference bigotry alone. That's the difference. And it's very, very real, and it's very, very important. And then, of course, you can compound that also with a gender discrimination, meaning that women of whatever color, especially African women who get it the worst, catch more hell than men of that same of that community, of the alternative sexual preference community. I don't even like using that phrase, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay, that leads me to the other question. Is such preferences normal and natural? Yes, they are, because it's normal and natural for these type of specific occurrences in the development of fetuses to occur. It is not an issue of God smiting people or saying that they're abomination or anything else like that. It is purely an operation of the congenital virilizing adrenal hyperplasia. That's it. That's it. That is all. These are the facts. Whatsoever your opinions are, that's on you. But however close your opinions are to the facts, that's how close you are to being more right. However divergent your opinion is from the scientific facts, that's how far away you are from being right. Now, you can choose to have whatever opinion you want. No one's denying you the right to choose whatever you choose to believe. Do you? That's what you want to do. But when we talk about what is actually factually correct and that which is not, just laid it out for you. Okay? So, what do you think about that? What are you going to do about that? Me? I never had a problem with them in the first place. I didn't. Whoever you choose to love and however you choose to love, that's your business. Okay? To me, if we're looking at the aggregate actions, hey, how many gay people bombed Japan? How many gay people created the nuclear bomb? How many gay people, or lesbian, or queer, or trans, or what have you, poisoned the atmosphere? How many of them started slavery? How many? In other words, whatever form of argumentation you may have about that splinter group, consider that we of the quote-unquote hetero or cisgender community have done infinitely worse throughout the entirety of our existence. So how can we turn around and heap all forms of disgust and bigotries upon people who historically have never done even 1/100th of what we've done? Think about that. My grandmother used to tell me, don't go around pointing and accusing people, because when you point at a person, all right, you have 3 more fingers pointing back at you. So get yourself right, which is a lifelong activity, a lifelong endeavor, and you'll discover that the better you make yourself, the better you'll make the world around you. Okay? Big Mama is right, in my opinion. That's what I've been trying to do. So if you have any questions or comments, if you want to tell me how much I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, or if you agree with me, or if you want to engage in any other issues, please let me know. Drop it at the end of this video. Please hit the subscribe button, hit that bell, the notification, so you'll know when my videos are coming up. Please support me on my website. You know, this stuff is not free. It's free for you, but it's not free for me to create, okay? My website is googlesite.com/AttacksGym Street Warrior Capoeira. Buy my ebooks, buy my instructionals. The range of products is very, very affordable. They're from $11 to $93, and combo packs are like $135. We're looking at hours and hours and hours and hours of information, skills, knowledge, and techniques that nobody else in the world, you know, publishes. So please, support your boy the way I support you. Take care of yourselves, all right? It's Head Coach Ross of the Attacks Gym Street Warrior in Njia Uhuru Kipura. Asante sana. Amani. Ashe.